It's always great. I mean, it's a gentleman for us, a basketball treasure chest right here in our midst. And we feel like we became fair weather, a bandwagon jumping friends because we wait until he beats Duke and once again finds a way to just befuddle Coach K at Cameron Indoor with these crazy nutbags just yelling and screaming and trying to intimidate the hell out of his team. Goes in there and beats Duke. And that's when we say, hey, you know what? We ought to have Jim Larinaga on the show. But, Jim, I assure you, you're always in our hearts. How are you, Jim?
I'm good. I always like talking to the guys who jump on the bandwagon midway through the trip. So.
Jim Larinaga is coming on the show on Thursday. Let me watch the game against FSU because that was a hell of a ball game. But, a real tough way to end the 9-game winning streak.
We go to FSU. We take a 1-point lead with 7 seconds to go. And they go in for a driving layup, and unfortunately there's a foul called, and they make 2 free throws to beat us at the end.
Do you get that call or make that call in the park if you're, calling fouls on yourself? Do you get that call at the end of the game? What do you think?
I grew up playing in the park in a place called Parkchester in the Bronx. Oh. And if any of my competitors had called that a foul at the end of a 1-point game, they would have definitely been fisticuffs.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here on the Defo Show as we celebrate a national holiday, Martin Luther King Day. Jeff Deforrest and Mike Lubie Lubitz. A national holiday and a day off for many people. Hopefully you guys get a chance to still tune in on the program today on a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. And that's what a lot of us are doing on this particular day. Jeff Deforrest and Mike Lubie Lubitz. Lubie already busy, texting away like a maniac, trying to make sure that the show goes smoothly. And Lubie, how are you on this fine Monday as we peel ourselves off the mat once again here on Ion Channel?
I am happy to be here. I'm happy to be doing the show. And it was like you talk about it, I'm trying to clean my eyeballs out after a very, very hectic NFL playoff weekend.
Had to gargle with Visine on the Saturday or yesterday, actually, with 3 games yesterday, 2 games on Saturday in the National Football League. I've mentioned this many, many times. I think it's true of a lot of people. Everybody loved the wild card weekend. You talk all season long about who's going to make the playoffs, and there's a natural anxiety and or euphoria about whether or not your team is going to make it. The Dolphins actually were in there. We operate out of Miami, still in there with a little bit of a shot. And then because they didn't make it, chaos ensued and all kinds of turmoil broke loose, including finding out that everybody hated Brian Flores in the Dolphins upper management. And yet, you know what? That would be a tough one, right? If you left a place and all of a sudden all this dirt came out about how you didn't get along with anybody and you thought everybody was a bozo and you treated people poorly and you psyched out your own young quarterback, saying things to him that may be permanently devastating, except for Tua's Hawaiian nature, right? Where, with the Maui Wowie that people are smoking around there, you could just get a contact high and realize, hey, life is short. What am I going to get all upset about what people think about me if they don't think I'm good enough to be a standout quarterback in the pros? So maybe he was able to shake that off without too much psycho damage. Some quarterbacks like a lot of on-air talent, Lubie. Let's face it, we don't like criticism, do we?
No.
We don't love it. Somebody says, hey, your show sucks and you look horrible on video, and you're thinking to yourself, you know what? I don't feel so good about that. I'm going to crawl into my little Cancer, astrological sign shell and maybe never come out again. But it is interesting that, I mean, how do you dodge that question in the interview when the people are across the table saying, okay, Brian, you won a lot of ball games, but why are you such an asshole to the organization?
Exactly.
What do you say? I mean, this was a guy that was looking supposedly for, beyond complete control of what was going on with this Dolphin team. And for them to get rid of him after he had rallied this team in 3 separate seasons to come back, I guess, they were doing all right in the second year, most of the way through. It wasn't as ugly as the first year when they lost their first 7 and looked like absolute trash in the process. They couldn't make a line big enough
No.
for the Dolphins to cover. I mean, it was just an outrage. And then it kind of came storming through when they had even less talent on the team, and it was even more of a compromising situation for Flores. They went on and won 5 of their last 9 games, including beating the Patriots and sending them reeling into a tougher position in the postseason, which ultimately cost them a shot, I guess, of winning a championship. That year, as they had to go on the road to Denver instead of it really upset the apple cart.
Yeah.
So Flores was quite accomplished, I guess, as an on-field 1-loss record type of coach. But interesting. I mean, that would be a tough question to get through in the interview. And I bring this up because your man Eric Bieniemy, who supposedly doesn't interview well, so far has only been linked to one job, and he's one of like 7 candidates there. So that can knock you out of the mix, I guess, in the long run. Although with the Rooney Rule and everybody trying to be in compliance of that, the first call is right to Bieniemy saying, "Okay, hey, Eric, why don't you come in, man?" "Oh no, you're never going to get the job."
Well, that's the thing. They're not even Rooney ruling him.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like Flores is either seriously considered or Rooney ruling. The enemy's not even out there. Like, it's
No.
weird.
Yeah, I mean, some teams have interviewed Jamie Foxx before they interviewed Eric Bieniemy, right? The guy's not even a coach, right? But okay, we brought in a black guy. He never had a job before as a head coach. Worked his way up through the ranks. He played, a football player in the movies, so why not, bring him in for an interview and satisfy the parameters of the Rooney Rule? But that is of little significance after all the action that we had over the weekend, and it's now expanded to 6 playoff games. There's still another one coming up tonight between the Los Angeles Rams and the Arizona Cardinals, a couple of very mysterious teams that are hard to gauge. I have the Cardinals tonight by no great opinion of my own. I consider the game to be somewhat of a toss-up, so you may as well have the Cardinals plus a few points. Now, I'm not getting as many points as most people are, because once again, and I hope you're watching, Francesco, Jewish Journal, is that where you're getting lines? Really? Now, it wasn't that much of a factor in some of the games, the points that he has shaved off of these lines. And he'll start screaming at me. This is a guy that I've been booking his action for the last few years, and so far in the playoffs, postseason, not necessarily his game, as he stands now at 1-4 after 5 games.
Getting some units back. Look at you.
The one game I liked, I really did. I mentioned this on the show. So, and I think we can go back and track this. I don't know that I had an overwhelmingly convincing opinion about it, but I did think that Buffalo was playing much better ball at this time of the season as they came down the stretch there. They had that one little hiccup where they lost a couple of games, and especially glaring was the one to Jacksonville when they lost like 9-6 or whatever that was. Just horrendous. And then people started throwing all of the usual criticisms back at Josh Allen that he'd been hearing for the last couple of years, that he's a little bit wild and, he doesn't necessarily have complete command over the passing game. But they did get it together, and their last few games were extremely impressive, and they couldn't have been any more impressive than they were against the New England Patriots, who seemed to be tailing off. And in that game, you were laying 4.5. And you know what was great about that, Lubie? It was never a factor.
Yeah, no. Oh, no.
I mean, they scored touchdowns. Did they not score touchdowns on their first 7 drives? I think they had 7 drives in the game of any significance, and they scored on all of them. I mean, just mowed right down the field. They went 80 yards, 70 yards, 80 yards. And you're looking at Belichick on the sidelines there, and you knew he was resigned to the idea that there was no chance that the Patriots were going to be competitive. The weather wasn't overwhelmingly prohibitive, even though it was, as we say about Buffalo, it's fucking freezing in the summertime. They have one day of Indian summer in July in that area of New York and New York State. Because people think of it as New York City, but it couldn't be any further away. I mean, it's like Tallahassee versus Miami in terms of the way the cities are, I guess, in terms of the human condition there. And also, just general conditions, because it's freezing in Buffalo all the time. And it was -5 wind chill factor, 7 degrees in actual temperature. But the wind wasn't blowing like it was in the previous meeting when the Patriots outfoxed McDermott and the Buffalo Bills and ran the ball 300 times in the ballgame, threw just 3 passes with Mac Jones. They were forced to put the ball in the air because they were trailing. and it didn't work out so well. But Buffalo looked like the superior team, and that definitely looks like the two best teams in the AFC are going to meet in the divisional playoff round, which will be Kansas City hosting the Buffalo Bills. The other game now is going to be Tennessee, the number one seed who sat out with the bye in the wild card weekend, and they will take on the Cincinnati Bengals, which was that was a great game to watch. I really enjoyed that. I was rooting for the Bengals to finally get off the snow-called schneid. Sorry, Leslie Visser. I know she hates those kind of words when I start using Jewish slang.
Is Schneid Jewish?
Schneid's not really Jewish, is it?
That's why Schneid is one you always bring in with schmuck and schmank. But Schneid, I don't think is Yiddish.
I think it's a universal term. Leslie, I'm sorry. I love you. But, I mean, I think Schneid is well accepted. In fact, I think I even saw it in one of the headlines in the sports section today that Vancouver got off to Schneid. The Vancouver Canucks had lost like 9 in a row or something like that, and they finally won a hockey game, and it actually said right there in the headlines, Vancouver gets off to Schneid.
It's a U.S. slang. U.S. slang.
There it is. I have the headline right here. Leslie, I'm sorry. I love you. I really do. But it says, Canucks. Can you read that, Lubie? Canucks get off to Schneid. No, you can't see that.
But again, Schneid, when you've always linked
Schneid in the paper. What are you talking about?
I wasn't saying Schneid when I was
Schnook, Schneid.
Schneid is acceptable. Now, schmuck, I don't know. And some of the other things you
schmuck is considered more derogatory. And normally when we were doing terrestrial radio, I would hesitate. I never used the word schmuck because somebody from the B'nai B'rith would have called in and go, he said something awful on the air. As if I had embraced Hitler or something and put a swastika behind me like I was Marge Schott with Shotzi marching, to a goose step just to go take a leak. Anyway, good to be with you guys today. It was a great football weekend all the way around, and many other things were happening. I started out, actually, I missed you at this thing that was happening in town here in Fort Lauderdale, the Fort Lauderdale Food and Wine Festival.
Yeah.
So I went to that barbecue bash with Mike Mayo, the gambling gourmet. Mayo's quick, to judge things, too. He takes like one bite. The first thing that he had, you would have thought that he had just bitten into a McRib sandwich. He was like, yuck, I don't need another bite of this.
He flung it.
So they were probably going to finish 10th. O.J. McDuffie was there, the great O.J. McDuffie.
Goose. Nice.
What a delightful guy. You know what? I've always said this about O.J., the former Miami Dolphin, and my friend Southern Brian, who came out. You met Southern Brian at the radio show we were doing Friday.
I met him a bunch of times now. I've met him like 5 times. He's a great
and I do want to salute the guys at Cut Above Butcher Shop. I was bummed. I think
great.
I ended up drinking like a bottle of Stag's Leap Chardonnay while doing the show, and it was too much for me. Combined with other form of inebriants.
I've never seen you leave wine. That was impressive.
I couldn't finish it. But it was very good. I'm going to have to acquire a couple of bottles of that because it was great. Now, is that relatively expensive? That Stag's Leap, I want to say.
I don't think it's cheap. I don't think it's
garbage. See it in a restaurant, it's going to cost you, probably set you back $50 maybe.
I don't know.
So what would that make it? About a $25, $30 bottle of wine, on any kind of retail market. But nonetheless, that was great. And so we were there. And Southern Brian is a barbecue wizard, so I invited him to come out to this thing. And he also had very strong opinions about the stuff that was going on. And he met the juice, O.J. McDuffie.
Nice.
But the guy's from Atlanta, and, he wasn't really that familiar with O.J. McDuffie. And he said, who's O.J. McDuffie?
That's crazy.
I said, well, O.J. McDuffie was an excellent Dolphin football player, a legend at Penn State, where he starred and became a first-round pick, late first round of the Dolphins. There was that big debate. We always talk with the juice about that. And I would have to say, when it was happening, and this filled hours and hours. It used to be easy doing sports talk in South Florida. I don't know if it's the same around the country because guys just want to yell and scream at each other about contrived debatable topics. We were never really that into that sort of spectrum of sports talk, were we?
No, you just let people do that. You just let the callers come in and yell and scream. Like that's what I grew up was my dad loving to listen to people yell and scream. That's why I never understood sports talk because I was like, who just wants to listen to people yell?
And the hosts would instigate it, right? You'd have a host like the great Hank Goldberg, and the caller would call in and say, "Hey, Hank, it's a real nice day outside. Pleasure to be on your show." And you go, "What? No,
nice day. What, are you kidding me?
What do
How
you
can
mean?
you say it's a nice day? I just lost 2,000 at the track.
I'll never forget. It was Passover, and my dad called in. He never called in because I was in the car, and he ripped Jay Fiedler.
Yeah.
And Hank on air was like, hung up on him mid-sentence, said, these guys must be anti-Semites if they're going to rip Jay Fiedler in the middle of Passover. And I was like, what? Or Yom Kippur or something. I was like,
right. And then he ate like a yarmulke on the air while he was eating, whatever food was being provided for him at the time. I think I'm going to see Hank when I'm out in Las Vegas in a couple of weeks. I'm going to try and stop in and see how the great Hank Goldberg is doing. South Florida legend and known around the country because he was doing the handicapping for ESPN for many, many years. He took over the role of Pete Axtell, who was one of the all-time greats. So we got to know Pete from hanging around at the track. And another one, Lubie, who left us way too soon. Wow, what a great character. You would have loved this guy. I mean, he was a real Damon Runyon type. Always a little bit disheveled, wearing like a jacket and tie because he was always on TV. I think he did a lot of work with NBC also, but Pete Axtell was one of the real brilliant characters, very much like a degenerate version of what Bert Sugar was to boxing. Pete Axtell was like a go-to guy, and Hank replaced him in that role, so was well-known around the country. And then he had that one big season. This is all we need to do, Lubie. And I've been telling Jack this also from my own channel. If we can have one good year picking games, that's it. We're set for life. You could lose the next 20 seasons, and everybody just remembers the time, oh, yeah, I rode his back all the way. I won 20 dimes. I buried my bookmaker that year. And it doesn't matter that in the ensuing 19 years, you lost your ass. Week after week, game after game, 1-4, 0-5, 2-3 was a good week, right? And yet, I mean, that one claim to fame, he was monstrous. He was like going 4-1, 5-0 every week for about 15 straight weeks. And that was it. Became international legend, Hank Goldberg, the great Hank Goldberg. But he cursed out your dad on Passover, huh? And called him an anti-Semite. Your father,
holidays,
as Jewish a Jewish guy as you could possibly get. I mean, he's a Jew's Jew.
Like what anti-Semite talks ill of Jay Fiedler on the high holidays? And I was like, anyone who's sane.
Jay Fiedler was one of the nicest guys I ever came across on the Dolphin scene. A real gentleman. His father was a great coach. And he played as hard and as well as he possibly could. But he just wasn't the prototype. I hate to say it, but, I mean, you may be – I mean, I think – is Tua Tagovailoa a better quarterback than Jay Fiedler? That's a good question.
Yes, but probably not. He may not – as of yet, probably not. Fiedler actually had decent success. He just always seemed to botch it at the end. Like at the end of a game – like that Raider playoff game, like they had the game and then the Jets games where he would throw these ridiculous interceptions, and that's what I remember him for. And that probably wasn't his entire time, so I'm doing him disservice, I guess.
Well, it's funny because I do remember when everybody fell in love with Jay Fiedler as a potential quarterback for the Dolphins, including the Miami Dolphins themselves, and it was when they were getting trounced by Jacksonville, 62-7. When they went on the road to Jacksonville to play in a playoff game. And was that Marino's last year? I think, yeah, that's when Marino decided to hang it up. And I think even Jimmy said, that's it for me. And he did come back and coach another year, Jimmy Johnson. But they got crushed like a grape. And I remember, and I've told the story many times, I was on my way to the press box, which was somewhere, I mean, I would have been better off just renting a little space on one of Jeff Bezos' rockets. Because you had to go like 32,000 feet up in the air. So you had to take an elevator to get up there. And I'm in the elevator with an old, stodgy guy, the kind of guy that, I mean, elevator operator is not necessarily a glamour position, even though, any work is good work. I don't denounce anybody for whatever it is that they do. Because, look, we've been making a living doing this. And, some people would consider what we're doing a disgrace. How could you possibly take money for that? So anyway, I mean, there's some guy named Smitty. It's always a guy named Smitty. He's operating the elevator. Hey, Smitty, take him up to the press box. No, they're clear. So I get in the elevator. I'm the only guy in the elevator at that point, very early, way before the game, because I was doing a 4-hour pregame show on WIOD before the ball game got started. And I did that mostly myself. So I'm setting up in the press box at 8 in the morning for a 1 o'clock game.
Jeez.
And Smitty takes me upstairs, and I ask him something, just to pass a little conversation along, because it feels awkward, right? Everybody's in the elevator and they're all staring at the floors, like what floor it's going on. Nobody talks to each other.
The elevator ride is the most awkward ride.
Weird, right? People start smelling their own armpits to see if it's them. I thought I had deodorant on. Nobody talks. You're afraid somebody's going to fart. I mean,
I've been in elevator rides in Europe, elevator rides East and West Coast in America, in Thailand. Elevator rides are universally awkward wherever.
Weird, yeah. How about that time we were in a hotel in San Francisco there where only one person could actually fit in the elevator and we tried to squeeze in 4 and suitcases? Another Chris Visser special, although we owe Chris a lot for helping us out with those Radio Row accommodations that we got. But this one, San Francisco, is very pricey, right? I mean, it's like $3,000 to live in a Portishead in San Francisco. So a hotel's not exactly on the cheap either. And, to find something around a Super Bowl that was anywhere near where you wanted to be, it was not an easy thing. But so I get in the elevator with Smitty there, and sure enough, I said something about, Mark Brunell, who was quarterbacking at the time. And he said, you know what? The other guy is a better quarterback. So I'm thinking, the other guy? Who the hell is the other guy? And the other guy, of course, was Jay Fiedler, who had come in. Brunell had been injured intermittently throughout the season, and Fiedler had played some significant time. And the people of Jacksonville were convinced that Mark Brunell was a fairly accomplished pro quarterback. Would you say that Mark Brunell, I mean, he wasn't a Hall of Famer, but wasn't bad, right? Mark Brunell had some real good seasons for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And for the fact that Smitty, who you would think would be a guy in the know because he hears what everybody has to say, right? He's riding the general managers up there and they're saying, we ought to play Jay Moore. And they all love Fiedler. And Fiedler came in after Brunell had started the blowout, and it was clear that the Dolphins were just going to get trounced in this game. But Fiedler came in, and it wasn't really quite garbage time yet. And he looked great, absolutely amazing. And you thought, wow, I wish this guy was the next Dolphins quarterback. And sure enough, that's what he became. But wasn't really the prototype. I mean, you kind of need to be somewhat in that category, do you not? Jalen Hurts, were you impressed with what he had to do yesterday? I'm amazed he's gotten as far as he has as a pro quarterback, Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
And actually took a team, somewhat into the playoffs. But that game just doesn't work when you're going against the really good teams that have stud defenses. That whole game that we saw it with Lamar Jackson, right? Who's a better version of Jalen Hurts.
Yes. At
that type of quarterback play. And, it gets to the postseason and all of a sudden they figure out a way to stymie the guy. So that was Blowout City, the Philadelphia game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was ugly. The Buccaneers looked great. Tom Brady looked fantastic, as always.
Yeah.
And so the Buccaneers now with a very favorable route as they will, are they getting the winner of tonight's game? Yeah. They get either the Rams, who would travel across the country to play the Buccaneers after playing on a Monday night, or is the league just setting this up deliberately so Tom Brady can be back in the Super Bowl?
Yes.
And I keep coming back to this because it bothers me. It seems like a bad edit, doesn't it, Lubie? You do a lot of editing.
I do.
When you're editing sound clips and things like that, you're putting together the opening, which you were putting together. Hey, you were scrambling up until 6:59:50. Put together those Larinaga cuts. Which he's right. I mean, and leave it to Jim Larinaga, always a gentleman, not to say that was a bullshit call.
Oh, it was great. He found a way to say it without anyway getting fined. It was amazing. Good for him.
Yeah, and you could tell, though. I mean, it is true. If you went up for that shot at the end of a ball game in the park, right? It's like 11-10, and this is going to be the winning basket. You're already in kind of extra points or overtime in a half-court game because you're going to have to take it to 12 because it's win by 2, right, Lubie?
Yeah,
always win by 2.
Yep.
Yeah, people that played win by 1. I mean, that was also a bunch of BS. But and if you took that shot and said, I got it.
No way.
It's like, you got what? Right?
Or you'd either not give it to them, or if you give it to them, you'd finish the game, and then there would be a fight. 100%. Like, he was 100% right.
It was a weird thing, but and this was kind of a New York thing. Even though you might be yelling and screaming about it, calls, no matter how bad, were usually honored.
Yes.
If a guy said, I got it, and you knew he was a whining baby, and it was all a bunch of crap, and he hadn't been touched. There was nobody within half a mile of the guy. You would fire the ball back at him so that hopefully it would hit him right in the balls as you were checking the ball back in. Okay, you got it. Boom. Give him one of those.
Always.
That's kind of what Larinaga implied. I mean,
Yeah.
I imagine he's playing in basketball. This would have been late 50s, early 60s, but when he was a kid, and I guess maybe even into the mid 60s and
60s.
Yeah, that he's playing a lot of basketball in parks in New York City where he grew up, and he's playing in the Bronx. And if you made that call, forget about it, man.
That way.
Your house might get burnt down.
But you wouldn't make that's the thing is, and that's why I'm a Knoll, and you weren't wrong by the book. There was contact twice going up, so you could call a foul there, but it was a close range shot. The guy absorbed the contact, had a clean look, and just bricked it. So most people would have bit their whistle and not called it. However, there was always one or two guys that called everything.
Yeah,
called everything. Bitch about it.
Right.
Whatever, John.
Flailing their arms, even though you got all ball. And that would be that was all ball. That was all ball. We should have thrown that at Larinaga. He was a delight, by the way. If you want to catch that interview, that was on Thursday's edition of the Defo Show.
Yep.
And, of course, the great thing about Googling the Defo Show and the people at Ion Channel is that all of these shows are archived. If you want to catch a very entertaining basketball conversation, whether you're a Hurricanes basketball fan, an ACC fan, you just like the fact that they upset Duke at Cameron Indoor, Jim Larinaga, I mean that in all sincerity. Every time I even think about having him on the show, you're thinking, this is a basketball treasure chest right here in our town. And you heard it in the interview. It's kind of interesting because this is the town without pity, South Florida, where indifference is really, the most common characteristic of any fan here is almost total and blatant indifference.
What do you mean? The Panthers, and we're going to talk with Craig Minervini today because they're hitting like the 19, Murderers Row.
21-3 at home. That's pretty amazing. 21-3
goals every game. It's like I'm like 9-4. I'm like, what the hell? So it's like, all right, I think we should talk some Panthers. Who's talking Panthers? I don't know. There's no way anyone knows they're even playing.
You know what? The fact that you could probably easily get tickets for any home game the rest of the way is pretty remarkable. But they were selling false hope for a long, long time.
Yes.
And there was always a question about that. That was another one of the hotly debated topics in the old days, the heyday of sports talk, is whether or not hockey could make it here, whether baseball could make it here. But we already had football. Football was huge. It's a deep South type of mentality. The Dolphins had tremendous tradition. And Don Shula took these young men to a perfect season. You could hear Facenda as soon as you mentioned the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, you would hear, these brave young men are here to play a child's game. Although I was surprised my friends didn't recognize O.J. McDuffie. If you were a football fan, would you not know that name, O.J. McDuffie?
But he never became, I guess, like a Randy Moss because he wasn't high flying. So I don't know how much he got on SportsCenter. But if you watch football, he was the Dolphins' best receiver for like a decade.
Oh, man. Marino used to drill those passes in there into triple coverage.
Lived off of OJ. Marino was like, I don't give a shit how many people are on the guy. Here.
There are certain people, though, that always make you feel good when you run into them. And OJ could easily have a little bit of an attitude. I don't know. He wasn't that famous of a football player, obviously, that, it was an automatic. Like if Marino's standing there, you think Southern Brian doesn't have any idea who he is?
Outside of my wife, everyone else on the planet knows who Dan Marino is.
Your wife would not recognize Dan Marino?
It's a big joke because when we go to the Segredo Roma nights in Roma, Marino will be there. And the first time I was like, because I know she's not big into sports, but everyone knows Marino. Marino's one person.
How do you not know Marino?
Everyone knows. Even at like Radio Row, where there's famous people everywhere, Marino's one of the like 5 guys that everyone
causes a buzz.
Marino. So I'm like, oh, I'll introduce you to Dan. And she's like, Dan who? Dan Marino?
Dan Tana, yeah.
Babe, I love you.
Marino's always great at that thing because he actually seeks us out, which is pretty amazing. Yeah, quite a distinction. When he walked in, that time, I guess Minneapolis is what I was thinking of when you mentioned the Radio Row, and Marino was there, and it was kind of like a last-minute thing, like when Lawrence Taylor was on Radio Row, only a few people kind of knew that was happening.
Yep.
And fortunately, we were lucky enough to have a connection. 2 times, in the same situation, right? Everybody wants Marino. They're all tugging on him. And our good friend Fudge Brown was doing the PR for him and kind of leading him around to various sites where there's like 100 radio stations, and everyone, and naturally, I mean, hey, you want Marino? Nah. We got this guy that wrote this pamphlet about how to understand the rules. We'll just blow off Marino for that. But, she always goes out of her way to make sure that we get accommodated. And Marino, what was a delightful interview that day, but everybody's following him, right? I mean, there's a buzz when certain people come into the room.
Yep.
It's kind of like I've often told a story about I'm at the Main Street Gym in Los Angeles, where there were only at the time, I guess you still had 13 divisions in boxing, but there were only the 2 alphabet soup organizations, World Boxing Council, one of my favorite organizations, and the World Boxing Association, which may be more crooked, but because Jose Suleiman was the face of corruption. Who would you say is the face of corruption in your lifetime? It might be Jose Suleiman, who was the founder and president of the World Boxing Council.
See, I always think of either the IOC guy or the FIFA guy. Those are the 2.
Yeah. Juan Antonio Samaranch.
Always the best.
Sepp Blatter, was another beauty. But
when they go to Utah and everyone's like, Utah?
Guys driving a Bentley that he didn't own before he showed up in town there.
Those are the
The
2 best
Osmonds
ever.
greet him at the airport,
When they said Utah and Qatar, both times I was like, what?
Corruption is great. I mean, let's face it, it's very pervasive and, infiltrated sports a long time ago and will always be there, or so it seems, because that was the big debate over the weekend about this call in a Cincinnati Raiders game. Get to that. But just to finish the point about Marino coming in and certain guys have a presence, you have, at the time, there were 26 world champions total, I mean, in the world.
Yeah.
We're talking about all countries involved. Okay. So of those, how many would really be training in a gym in LA? If you had like 6 world champions in there at one time, 6 of the 26,
That seems like a lot.
that's very significant, right? Because these guys could be from anywhere in the country, in addition to the fact that they could be from any other country among, hundreds and thousands of other countries that possibly could be, having a world boxing champion. So there are like 6 guys that legitimately hold one of the titles, WBA, WBC, different weight divisions in there. And Alexis Arguello was in town. I guess he was training for a fight maybe in Las Vegas, but he's spending a day in Los Angeles on a press tour. So he comes to the Main Street Gym for a workout while he was in town. And literally everybody stopped. It was one of those things where guys are on the speed bag. Here's a guy who's a WBC champion. Here's a heavyweight champion in the world. They all stopped, and this guy had such reverence among his contemporaries and other boxers. They all stopped and kind of like applauded as he made his way, like to throw a couple of light jabs at the mirror there.
Well, boxers don't do that. Boxers are very like in their own world and in their own head.
Yeah.
That's crazy that they did that.
Yeah, so, I mean, and that's the kind of esteem and acclaim that Marino had. O.J. McDuffie didn't quite have that.
No.
That was the point. But is one of those guys, Leslie Visser, the aforementioned Leslie Visser, the lovely and talented one, has this quality. Just makes you feel good, right?
Yes.
You could be any schlub, any schlep. I walked over to OJ at this thing, and, he gave me like such a warm greeting and embrace. I wasn't in the greatest of moods, when I got in there, because I'm not really big on these sort of things. You know that. I don't like a lot of formal stuff. And this was casual, very well run, by the way, for a wine and food festival.
Good.
Lubie, because it wasn't one of those deals where you got a thimble full of wine.
Oh, good. Oh, thank God.
And, also, the portions were so small that it wasn't even worth, attempting to try it. Now, you were going to eat from 10 different stations, Lubie. So what do? How do you pace yourself on that? Mayo was turning green by the time he was finished. And it was a lot of spicy stuff, too. I mean, it was Barbecue City over there. But, OJ likes that place. What is it? Licky Sticky Barbecue. And,
okay, never heard of it. That sounds.
Woman named Juliet. Yeah, well, she was operating like out of, I guess, I don't know if it was a food truck, but setting up in different parks, where she has a different location. But now going to open up a, what do they call that? Brick and mortar.
Okay, yeah, an actual standalone store that's brick and mortar.
Yeah. So that was good, but no, good to see O.J. McDuffie out there, and it was a very, very well run event. All right, I want to get into this thing about the Raiders game because I believe this, and this reminded me of the Argentine tango takedown. where we had a horse we were about to make a giant score on, and it hurt Polyman more than anybody. I think our dear friend Polyman from the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. I mean, this guy. I don't know that I want to use words like desperate at the time, but financial considerations were never favorable. Let's put it that way. At that period of time, and there may have been many people in Polyman's pocket from unfortunate money that he had taken advantage of in the past. So anyway, nobody needs it more than him. He's about to make like a giant score. I'm talking about like 5 figures, well into 5 figures if this result sticks. Which there's no reason to believe that it's not. The horse blows by the entire field on the outside, wins by 5. And then, I'm very confidently holding, a far lesser amount of winning tickets on this thing. But I'm already like inviting people to go to dinner. That was the tough part. Only to have the horse disqualified for absolutely no reason. I mean, technically, you couldn't even make a good case for the technicality of this foul that was eventually honored by the stewards. And, we ended up getting buried in that. Now, obviously, when something like that happens, somebody else benefits. But, it was a travesty of justice because the horse that won the race was far and away the best and did nothing to have any reason to have consideration for any sort of disqualification. So I don't know. Did you see this inadvertent whistle play that everybody's talking about? And now those officials are not going to work any more playoff games. The inadvertent whistle in the Cincinnati game against the Las Vegas Raiders. Did you happen to catch this, Lubie?
Yes, and it mattered. That's why it's become.
You think it did matter? Okay.
Well, what I'm saying is like the game was a 7-point game. So it wasn't like a blowout where you could just say, well, did it, like the game was a 7-point game. So big plays like that help to add or take away points ended up mattering. And that's why people are going to point to that, as a thing. I don't know. Like the guy was going to.
I don't believe that's why the Raiders lost that game.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like the guy was going to catch it. So who cares?
Yes. They had given up not because of the inadvertent whistle, which if it was a split second before the ball hit the receiver's hands,
it doesn't affect you.
I would say that's a fair assessment. That's not an exaggeration, and it's not just because I was laying 6 with the Bengals.
And they won by
desperately 7. Needed to score, which certainly was a miraculous. I mean, you're talking about Joe Montana to Dwight Clark, almost similar, except that the receiver was in less traffic. But I don't believe that everybody let up in that split second. And if they did, then they weren't in very good, a good position to begin with because there was nobody near this guy.
Exactly.
Everybody thought that Joe Burrow had run out of bounds, which it appeared that he had, right? Even when you were watching a play, you were thinking, well, no, that's not a touchdown. The guy's out of bounds. And then they came up later with the inadvertent whistle, which I suppose, and, of course, it's a non-reviewable situation. The one thing that you would really want to have a review on is non-reviewable.
That's my favorite. They review everything, and it's like, that's a stupid review.
Yeah.
And then the thing that's like clear, they're like, yeah, we can't review it. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt that the whistle blew before the play was actually completed. It was 99.5% complete before that whistle blew, the inadvertent whistle, which blows a play dead. And the rule would be that it's a do-over, right? It's like a let in tennis. Yep. Or, you can't decide on a call and you're refereeing your own situation. And so you say, well, let's just play it over.
Yep.
Which, how do people feel about that? See, I think that's a very fair proposition. Maybe you made a call that the guy you're playing, doesn't agree with. And you offer to play it over at the worst, right? You're pretty convinced that you're right. The other person is disputing it. Let's say a ball looked like, it was out. You could see it pretty clearly. The other guy's on the other side of the court there. He can't see it. So he starts screaming, what? What are you talking about? And and you're like, well, you know what? I thought it was out, so let's just play it again. You mind? And
I'd rather that than go forward and have one side believe fervently that it was bullshit. Like, I'd rather at least get another run at it, and then you know what? That's on you.
See, I didn't think that in the end. I thought justice was actually served on that play because I think it was going to be a scoring play. If the guy doesn't blow the whistle, he catches the ball with the same ease because the Raiders were nowhere near him. And
exactly.
It was a great play by Joe Burrow to hang on to the ball and not go out of bounds, and a significant play. Now, the other play that people are bitching about, but you're hearing less about it because it wasn't quite, as atrocious in many people's minds, but on the interception by the Bengals at the end of the game that sealed it. How is it that two guys came right over the top of the receiver to make that pick and somehow didn't hit the guy early? Is it possible their timing was that great? And at that point, like I said, I'm laying 6 with the Bengals, so the last thing I need is overtime. That would have defeated me. Would have been all over. It's interesting how when you're either giving or laying points, you're constantly calculating. The game, the Tampa Bay game against the Philadelphia Eagles, most people were getting 8.5 of that game. Of course, Francesco shaved it down to 8. I don't think he believes in the hook. He must have lost a lot of games by half a point.
Yeah, you never have hooks.
Never hooks.
0.5.
Is it that he doesn't have a hook application on his cell phone, so he can't put it in there? And he's too lazy to type out a 1/2?
It's always a straight line. Like there's never.
Isn't there some kind of emoji with a fishing hook or whatever? And you could just
stuff
go 8 hook.
It's a lot he could do. Are you kidding me?
That's what we should put out, like a complete program for degenerate cell phone use. Doesn't have any commas or quotation marks. It just has like a fish hook, a knife right in your back. But it was a lot of fun so far, and it still goes on tonight. Rams Cardinals. What do you think, Mike Lubitz? Rams Cardinals. Cardinals kind of dissipated a little bit at the end of the season. There, they weren't very sharp. They had one good game, I think, at the end of the year, and that was it, man. They lost a bunch. They looked like they were going to be the best team. People were telling us they were the best team in football, correct? And that didn't really bear out.
We had 1 week of that.
And the Rams, what do you make of the Rams? They brought back, I mentioned this last week, Eric Weddle has been out of football for 2 years.
Yeah.
Retired.
And this, because he retired in 19, right? So it's like 2, and then this season as well. Or it's at least 2 full seasons, if not more.
Like 3 years out of the game, and you're going to start him and play him significant time at safety tonight in a postseason game.
That's not
After
great.
the guy, he hadn't even been around a football, nothing.
That's not good.
In his day, he was a good safety, but I mean, when that's what you're doing, it's kind of crazy, is it not? That this is the state of affairs in the National Football League, and yet it's still been a wildly entertaining season. Did you see Goodell, by the way? I think he's up to $63 million. He was in the stands yesterday. What was he at the San Francisco-Dallas game? I believe he was.
Okay.
Nothing better, too. I mean, my favorite scene is seeing Jerry Jones in complete agony and anguish after a game like that. Where, I mean, the 49ers did everything they could to give the Cowboys a shot, did they not? My God, at the end there, it got a little dicey. If Dak Prescott doesn't run at that point, and they take a couple of shots in the end zone, maybe they get up there, spike the ball, get one more play, and and the 49ers lose outright after they controlled, almost the entire ball game into the midway point of the fourth quarter, and then, of course, Garoppolo mistake, and 49ers find themselves back against the wall. Then that was kind of crazy to have a guy with a false start. That wasn't even a part of the equation on the quarterback sneak. You were talking about the right tackle is guilty of a false start on a quarterback sneak that works and would have iced the ball game, and instead they have to now punt the ball away, and Dallas nearly took advantage of it.
Marked right down the field in like 30 seconds.
Right, and they're letting them go out of bounds.
It was amazing. That was the weirdest drive.
Kyle Shanahan, my God. Does he love to blow ball games? And he was being given, and it was true. I mean, if you compare him to McCarthy,
he looks good.
He's Lombardi. I mean, compared to like Tony Sperano.
Well, he did it in the Chiefs game. It was people forget into the fourth quarter, the Niners dominated that game. Like Patrick Mahomes only looked worse in the Bucs Super Bowl. He was horrible in that game until like the 7-8 minute mark. And then they scored like 30. Like he's really good for like 3.5 quarters. And then it's like he loses his freaking brain, Shanahan.
Crazy. Anyways, great weekend all the way around. I did want to mention this. I'll get into it in the next segment of the program. I do want to tell you about Hialeah Park and what's happening there. A holiday, great time to be at Hialeah Park, right? Get in there, get into the casino, get the raw reels spinning. You have a shot to win giant jackpots there. I saw some guy won 25 dimes just the other day at
Nice.
Hialeah Park playing a Royal Reels machine. They're all over the place in the casino. Steve Calabro has that place, as we say, humming, my friends. Humming. It's just humming along. Champion Simulcasting Room is great for all of your thoroughbred racing action. There are a lot of cards today because of the holiday, so there is some racing around the country of significance. And I believe even Gulfstream is running today. I believe so. I don't know that for a fact, but I thought I heard that yesterday when I was half asleep on the couch watching some TVG because one of the games was a blowout. Oh, that was the Tampa Bay game against Philadelphia. Blowout City. They almost weirdly came back and covered in that game. There was, a mathematical permutation. I mean, think about this. It ended up being 31-15. It was 31-zip. So if you were laying, if you were getting 8.5, you actually at one point had an outside shot that if they come back now, get another touchdown and a 2-point conversion, guess what, Lubie? You're at 31-23.
Yeah, exactly. You're pushed.
And after getting just annihilated the entire game with 8 and a hook, you win.
Yeah.
If you're getting Jewish journal lines from Francesco, then you're lucky to get the push, and then he'll consider that a win for himself. I don't know where this guy. I mean, did he teach math in Italy? Tuscany? Did they have math classes?
I was there. It seemed like they knew math, but
yeah. I mean, like when you got to check, we were at a restaurant. Was it reasonably close to what you were considering paying? Okay,
it was. So I don't know where Francesco came from.
He must have skipped a lot of classes. He was one handsome devil back in the days. I mean, imagine being this good-looking Italian stud. He was getting all kinds of action. What did he need to go to math class for? Anyway, you don't need to go to math class to realize you're going to be a winner at Hialeah Park because you know what? You're going to walk in there with a certain amount of money and probably walk out with a lot more. And that's the way they like it. Whether you're playing poker, playing the ponies, or playing the casinos games and all of the different things that are happening there with their slot machines, very generous payouts. As I said, jackpot after jackpot. And speaking of boxing, wow. I mean, it's going to be dynamite. January 28th, going to be just absolutely fantastic. The card still, I would imagine, has a limited number of tickets left. So jump online, HialeahPark.com. Get your tickets for the boxing. Going to be a sensational evening. All happening at beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, later on in the program, John Kajemi is going to join us tomorrow. John was I think he was in a golf tournament in Hawaii or something. They asked him to, get involved in one of the pro tournaments, I believe. He may be playing Torrey Pines right now, teamed up with Phil. But anyway, John is going to be with us tomorrow with his Dateline Dolphins, which we call it Dateline Dolphins, but essentially, obviously, the Dolphins are doing nothing except searching for a coach and an identity. It seems like forever. But he'll be with us tomorrow. And of course, we'll get into all of these playoff games, and we'll have all the matchups set up for next week for the divisional games. And so that'll be a lot of fun having John on the show tomorrow. Craig Minervini is a local wizard of a television talent. He's going to be with us. He does both Marlins and Panthers broadcasts and does an excellent job and never ages. This guy. I hope we can get him on the computer, Lubie, and put him up in one of the little boxes on the screen here on the video stream. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, he should be home at that time.
He must be able to do that, man. See if he can pull that off, and that way we can see Craig. Although I don't know, you think in the morning he just looks like a disheveled wreck?
I'm thinking no. It feels like he always is ready for camera, Mr. Ming.
Who's the guy? Christopher Lloyd, the actor. That always looked disheveled there in the show Taxi. Is that Minervini in the morning, and then he pulls it together at night, and all of a sudden is this dashing, handsome young announcer?
I feel like I feel like Miniman is always ready to go. That's just sort of his thing.
Are people in South Florida even watching? I mean, look, I'm even inspired to schnorr for some free tickets for a game after watching these last couple of scores. I mean, they win 7-2 and then 9-1.
Yeah,
back-to-back nights.
It's like, what the hell? Hockey.
And they've been winning all season, pretty much. I mean, they haven't been a great road team, but good enough. And then 21-3 at home. I mean, if you're a home fan, what do you want to do? You want to go out there, you want to have some fun, and you want to see your team win, hopefully. Yes. Is that not the general gist of what all fans really want to accomplish when they go to a game? Have a little fun, maybe something to drink. Don't get clobbered too bad at the concessions. A few laughs, pat yourself on the back a little bit because your team is doing well, and hopefully see a home team win. So how can you do much better than that? I mean, you can only do 3 games better, 21-3. And yet I would imagine, I don't think it's the worst job in town, but being a scalper of Panther tickets outside the arena there, probably as tough a job as you could find. Correct?
Yeah, no one cares. No one knows they're playing. I don't hear anyone talking about the Panthers, and they're tied for the league lead in points.
And it's way out there by the Everglades. You're hearing coyotes in the background. Aroo! Right? Wolves. Aroo! And this guy's there going, got two. And nobody's paying any attention. You know, people are spitting on, got two. Take your two. Shove them up here. I mean, it's crazy. You think that's turning around? Because for me, that would be the barometer. That would be the measuring stick of whether or not team was gaining acceptance. Like when I used to sell those Dolphin tickets outside the turnpike there so I could get money to go to the track after the pregame show. That was great, man. Used to pick up like 3-4 sticks, just standing out there by the turnpike. It was a little embarrassing, when people would recognize you. Hey, there's a radio guy selling tickets.
Hey, dude.
It's the Albert Castillo song. Did he ever come through with the customized music? No.
I'm waiting on him, yeah.
Come on, Albert. But he has a song, Have You No Shame. Which is pretty much our theme song. All right, we're coming back with more. We're on Ion Channel. It's great to be here. Streaming audio and video all around the world. Many exciting things happening and on the horizon here. Jack, I assure you, everything's going to be okay. Don't sweat it, my friend. Mike Lubitz is here. I'm Jeff Deforrest. We'll take you up until 9 o'clock on the East Coast here. And Craig Minervini going to join us later on. We'll talk a little, hey, shoot the puck. Little yes. NHL.
It's going on.
Turn some people on. No?
Hockey's being played now. Like now.
yeah, a lot of good stories, too. Your man, Gerard Gallant, is a nice story in New York. They've really taken great acceptance to him because he's done well with a Ranger team that wasn't necessarily ticketed for any kind of level of excellence this year. And they appear to be a very formidable contender. But the Panthers are at the very top, the Florida Panthers, of the league right now. 2 games in hand on the Tampa Bay Lightning, perennial champions now in the last few years.
Yeah.
And 2 games in hand and 57 points apiece. So
yes,
technically in first place in the entire league and by a pretty significant margin over most other clubs outside of the Lightning. So very, very strong performance so far this year, even with turmoil. Correct? I mean, that whole thing with Quenneville.
Yeah, that wasn't great.
Could have been very, very disruptive.
The other guy's done a good job. The backup guy, his assistant has just kept it going.
Seems like he's been there his whole life. He seems very comfortable in the job. All right, we're very comfortable that you guys hopefully will sit back and enjoy the rest of the show. I hope you're tuned in on video, ionchannel.com, or just Google the Defo Show. We've been telling everybody to do that. Seems like people are catching on. And streaming on, like half a zillion audio channels, Lubie.
Yes, sir.
So all over the place, including Australia, where people are saying, go home, Novak. So they finally sent the guy packing, huh?
Yes, it did. I think that's classic.
Now tennis players are coming to his defense, saying, well, they shouldn't have treated him like trash like that. But he's not well-liked, Novak Djokovic.
I didn't realize that. Like, I didn't know he was like such a punk, quote-unquote, an attitude guy.
A lot of people, do not like Novak Djokovic. Even though he has a little bit of personality, but as tenacious a player as you're ever going to find there, except for my man Diego Schwartzman, the one Jewish guy on the tour. All right, back with more here on Ion Channel in a moment on the Defo Show. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubitz, peeling ourselves off the mat, having a good time, a lot of football to discuss, and returning in a moment. Now that.
The time.
We were schlubbering there. It's like 7:54. Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
Hey, it's Mike Mayo for Even Keel Fish Shack, corner of A1A and Commercial Boulevard at Lauderdale by the Sea. It's my favorite place now for great seafood in a casual beachfront setting. They've got happy hour 4 to 7 Monday through Friday. They've got great dishes like grilled oysters and oysters on the half shell, bang bang shrimp, lobster rolls, octopus. They also have burgers and chicken for those who don't like the seafood. They're open 7 days a week for a lunch, dinner, and weekend brunch. Go to Even Keel Fish Shack. Go say hi to Dave and Brad and tell them the Gambling Gourmet sent you.
Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752. Would you go into court without an attorney? So why would you go up against an insurance company without Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa? 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Give them a call at 954-809-8752. Why go up against insurance companies alone? You can have Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa on your side.
Buy or lease a Taos and take it to the house at Deal Volkswagen. Anna and her team make your next VW purchase or lease so easy with new inventory rolling in daily and the biggest selection of certified pre-owned vehicles in the business. You can make your deal online at dealvolkswagen.com or visit the beautiful showroom in the classic location, 3601 Bird Road, right in the heart of the Gables. Or give Anna and the team at Deal a call at 305-448-DEEL. Jettas, Passats, Tiguans, Atlas models, and the hottest vehicle in the industry, the new Taos, all at unbeatable prices and all ready to roll off the showroom floor at the #1 Volkswagen dealership around, Deal Volkswagen.
Las Vegas, Nevada, where Saturday night, this man will challenge Deontay Wilder for the heavyweight championship of the world. We present the Gypsy King, Tyson Fury. From the looks of things, new trainer, new methods. It does look like you're in the best shape of your life. Why the changes, especially since you looked so good against Deontay Wilder the first time?
You know, I've come a different approach to this fight this time. Last time, we didn't get the decision we was looking for, ended up a draw. So this time, we've changed things up a bit. We're going to switch the gears, and we're going to knock him out this time to make sure we get the right decision this time. So I had the trainer last time. He was good. He didn't do anything wrong. We just needed a bit of more offense. So we brought in a more attacking trainer this time rather than defensive. So yeah, it should be a different fight completely.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
Take that, Adam Schefter. How about just asking a simple question and the guy tells you exactly what he's going to do and then goes out and does it? That was great. And nobody would have believed it either, right? When Tyson Fury told you he was just going to knock Deontay Wilder in another time zone early on and put more pressure on when, his whole game was that he's kind of an awkward-looking guy.
Yep.
And he was a big, fat, paunchy slob at one time also. Tyson Fury looked nothing like a guy that you would envision as being the heavyweight champion of the world. It's kind of like Dusty Rhodes, the wrestler, is the American dream, right? A fat guy with cellulite, cowboy boots, and a bad pair of shorts. It looks like something that you would bought in a pawn shop after Chuck Wepner had just left there with a loan. Anyway, unlikely to be the heavyweight champion of the world, and yet, a very skilled boxer for especially that division. Pretty fast hands, very clever in there, and not big power, but he goes out and does exactly what he says, as he did indicate in that clip that he wanted to have a different game plan. And, wow, Tyson Fury, he's become massively popular internationally. Have you noticed that?
Well, because he's fun. Like, he'll talk. Like literally, again, that was a real conversation that you had before the fight. Like I don't want people to think that was after. You had that before the fight, and he had no problem telegraphing what he was going to do, and then he did it. Like no one does that. Like guys in sports don't talk like that.
Guys in that position don't do like local radio shows.
And that's another
Although, it pays to have connections, right? Thank you once again, Brad Jacobs, on that one, because it's always great when, people are always fighting to break news. Essentially, this guy I'm sure he had laid out to other people the same thing, but, the reason that he changed trainers when he had actually done very well against Deontay Wilder. Most people thought Wilder was going to knock him out. And nearly did. And he literally, you talk about, that should be the video. Jack Namer, get that video. You talk about peeling yourself off the mat on a Monday. When he got up from that knockdown in the 12th round against Deontay Wilder and came back and actually probably won the rest of the round.
Yep.
That's what makes boxing great. I'm glad you played that clip, though, Lubie, because I did have a little boxing story, a local story to touch on. And you met this man, and I love great sports stories. The reason that I really am attracted to doing this sort of thing and still really enjoy it is because, you come across a lot of great stories.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff. While people, and that's why it's a shame, like those radio sports talk debates that we were talking about earlier kind of evolved into now that's all being done on television. That's all anybody's doing. How conceptually flawed is the notion that the only kind of interesting sports show is two guys screaming about opposite ends of a meaningless argument?
PTI started it like 16 years ago,
but they do it in a classy fashion. They really do. It's not like it's contrived baloney, where you have like Stephen A. Smith screaming at two guys, and then they feel like if they scream louder, it'll emphasize the point, and everybody looks at it. It's like sports talk has turned into Jerry Springer. Do the people that run these networks just think we're stupid? I don't know. I guess people love it. If you offer them something else, you do have people telling real sports stories, but not to the same acclaim and level of prominence and level of platform that they have in this business. But this was a good one. And you met this guy, Lubie. Do you remember your man Special K? He's a big fan of yours. Said, that he knew this boxer, a local boxer, who was going to be somewhat of a significant pro. And he brought him out, I think, to one of our Tiki Bar shows. And I think he might have even come by the studio when we were doing the radio show here in town. And Steve Giffard, do you remember this guy? Steve Giffard?
Name sounds familiar.
All right, he's from Delray Beach, Florida. And this was great. He had one of those Horatio Alger moments. Like a Cinderella Man moment, although he didn't come up with the victory in this case. But so he what was an acclaimed amateur boxer, highly acclaimed amateur boxer, like U.S. I don't know if he went to the Olympics, but he was on like the U.S. team competing around the world. He was like a junior champion, a Golden Gloves champion. He had won everything in the amateurs and had just cleaned up on the competition. He was a veritable Lomachenko, only of U.S. Origins. So anyway, he turns pro. And this had to be, maybe 10 years ago already, right? When we met this guy, that's maybe why you don't remember him.
Yeah.
And he turned pro, and he loses his first two fights, okay?
Sucks.
And he's won 18 straight since, but it's not like, the country is abuzz with Steve Giffard. His last fight was a year ago, prior to Saturday night, when he gets a call. He's training to fight an 8-rounder on a card that's going to be at like the Delray Beach Tennis Center.
Oh, that sucks. Okay.
Not exactly from Madison Square Garden in New York City.
Exactly.
Not exactly that. Okay. The Delray Beach Tennis Center is hardly ever going to be considered the mecca of boxing. Nothing wrong with it. It's good. Somebody's putting on a local show here. You like to see local kids get a chance to fight. Yep. Giffard is 31 years old now, so this is not a guy that's trying to, catch his big break and make a name for himself. It's like it's now or never, and it looked like never. Okay, so this guy named Joe Smith, who is a New York fighter, and he's very popular because his old man is like the head of some union. I'm not sure if it's like a fireman's or a policeman's. It might even be Teamsters. I don't know, but anyway. I've seen this guy a few times. He's a big puncher, and he's also somebody that you can hit. He throws a lot of wide punches, but has a lot of power, packs a lot of wallop, and he's got a record of like now 28-3, and 22 of those wins are by knockout.
Wow.
So Jaffrard gets a call 8 days before Saturday that the guy that Joe Smith was supposed to fight on national TV for the WBO light heavyweight championship
Oh, wow.
has COVID-19, and would he take the fight? I mean, this is Balboa type of stuff, right? Who's Steve Jaffrard?
Yeah, you sort of have to.
So he does, right? And he gets in there, and you could see. I mean, you're talking about a guy on a year layoff going against a guy that is highly touted. Yeah, very, very popular. The fight's taking place outside of Syracuse at the Turning Stone Casino in Verona, New York.
Okay.
And so the whole crowd, I mean, is Joe Smith. They all love this guy, right? And he's a likable fighter. He's a fighter you could root for because he gets in there and he's swinging for the fences. It's great.
Nice.
And has some style also. It's not like he can't box a little bit as well.
Yeah.
And then he usually ends up getting blasted a few times himself. So, he'll come out of there with like both eyes cut, that sort of thing.
Like a war.
Blood and guts. I mean, kind of a light heavyweight. I wouldn't say he's Arturo Gatti of that division, but a very entertaining fighter. And the fans love him in New York. So here's Jaffrard, ice cold, right? He's been on ice for a year. He has never fought more than 8 rounds. He has never come anywhere close to a world title fight or any kind of world title consideration except, 12 years ago when he was an amateur. His pro career is kind of going nowhere. And he's in there for a world title. And he gets in there against this guy who, comes out of the chute just firing right away. And he gave a fair account of himself, but essentially had lost every round until he finally had, he basically took a knee. He said he hurt his shoulder in the second round. And you could hear him in the corner telling his corner that his shoulder was really bothering him. And the corner man just kind of ignored it completely, his manager or, his trainer. Just said, no, we're not here to talk about any kind of pain. We're here to win a championship. He did one of those numbers.
Oh, God.
Which, the guy wasn't one of those guys that, he gave a pretty good account of himself. Like you could see that he had some skill, but he just wasn't ready for this.
Yeah. He had 8 days.
But, he had 8 days notice to go and go fight this killer. And, he ended up, getting knocked out. But, he more than acquitted himself. And it was a great story just to have that chance, right? Which probably... I don't know. Hopefully, because he didn't look bad in the fight, people take into consideration he was not even training for this fight, and certainly wasn't ready to meet a guy of this caliber based on what he was doing the last year or so. Maybe he'll get a couple of paydays off that thing. That would be nice. But a good story, man. We'll have to get him on the show. It's very entertaining. He was in there with a shot, but just didn't quite have enough firepower. And then he said he hurt himself in the second round, so he really couldn't. He couldn't do anything after that. He would have needed a little more power to contend with this guy, Joe Smith, because he wasn't going to knock him out the way he was firing. But very clever boxer. Interesting story. It happened right out of our backyard here in Delray Beach. All right, we're going to come back with more here on the Defo Show. Jeff Deforrest, Michael Lubie, Lubitz, Eye on Channel. And we have Craig Minervini coming up later on in this hour. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Speaking of the Jimmer, our friend Ed Berliner, great guy, local journalist here forever, and has done stuff all around the country. He likes to put this thing up on social media, in this case, Facebook, where you caption a photo. So he had an anguished-looking Jerry Jones holding his usual post-game press conference, which what other owner is surrounded by people? I guess Jerry, he doesn't officially hold the title of general manager.
Oh, well, he may be the official general manager, but it might be his son at this point. I don't know. He always was for...
Steve Jones is like the president or something. So what's Jerry? I mean, does he have an actual title outside of owner inside the organization? Does he have any managerial functional title?
In most people's minds, he was the GM, but supposedly he had turned over a lot of the personnel stuff to his son. So I don't know.
He was spitting up blood there in the first half when San Francisco was in complete control of the game. Yeah.
It says what I just looked up Dallas Cowboys GM, and it says, well, Jerry Jones is the GM. Much of the work on the draft team agency goes through McClay. Will McClay is supposedly a guy that is the GM.
Is McCarthy like the worst coach that ever won a Super Bowl? Mike McCarthy. He seems lost out there. I mean, and that was a big angle in the game from the degenerates that we had on and our handicappers, and most of the handicapping material that I had read going into that game was that Shanahan, who has made any number, of monumental bozoic mistakes in big, big games, including a Super Bowl, when he was offensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons. And there was no way for them to lose that ball game to the New England Patriots. Zero chance that they could lose. By any form of mathematical permutation, you could have not, with the clock ticking down and the monumental climb that the Patriots are going to have to make to get back into this ball game, there's no way that they could lose unless Shanahan handed it to him like it was a little knish on a silver platter at a bar mitzvah.
Yeah, like he did.
Oh, my God.
Yep.
And then he's doing everything in his power to give Dallas a chance to win this game.
Yes.
That was crazy.
That was fun.
How do you let 4 straight guys go out of bounds with 12 seconds to go?
All you have to do is keep them in bounds. They were out of timeouts. There was no time left.
They had no chance, right? If they complete a pass in the middle of the field, if it goes for 20 yards, it's going to take them another 15 seconds to run a play.
I mean, that's what ended up happening was Dak took 3 seconds to spike it and running out of time.
That was great, too. I loved seeing Dallas's chances get snuffed out like that.
That was the best.
That's it, right?
That was great.
It's got like 5-4, 40 love, your favor. Second set of a tennis match, and the guy just says, nah, I got to go. Doesn't let you finish it. Great. San Francisco was the darling of a lot of bettors in that game, getting 3 points. And there was no way they could lose after a while. It was pretty much lock city because you could see the pattern of the game that even if Dallas got a little bit lucky, and they did by getting the interception late, which Jimmy Garoppolo
does that a lot. That sort of seems to be a thing he does.
That's not going to work in Green Bay, my friend.
Done. Without that interception, Dallas doesn't have a chance.
No chance, right? It was pretty incredible that they even had the most remote shot, but came with an annihilation, as was the case with the Las Vegas Raiders. Getting pretty much handled through the first half of that game against Cincinnati. It looked like it was all Cincinnati, did it not? All Cincinnati. And, the Raiders were in there with a legitimate shot. They had one chance to go into the end zone on the last play of the game when the pass was picked off. And that would have been ugly, too, if they had called pass interference on that. See, that's always a debate, right? If the refs are going to call the game the same way throughout a ball game, should they not do the same thing at the end?
It's just weird to have. It's to me, it reminds me of like when they'll call a late hit on a guy who the quarterback threw it just before he hit him. Yeah. So it's like, what was he supposed to do there? He's trained to hit. What is he supposed to do? Like the refs are trained to call the right calls. Now you're saying, oh, don't do it now. Like as a human being, that's hard to do.
These late hit calls are horrible on
they're really
on the
bad.
Quarterbacks. It's just some of the ones that are being called are absolutely farcical and ridiculous, insane. And why are defensive players on the line of scrimmage holding guys and wrestling them to the ground, Dallas? That's crazy. You can't make a series of dumber plays than the Dallas Cowboys did. What, they have 14 penalties in a game? People always equate that with coaching when your team is completely undisciplined and has no idea what they're doing. And McCarthy's making those faces over there like he's going to pass out or else he's going to belch up
he just looks
some barbecue that he just had on his way into the stadium.
The fact that he was given another job after totally almost ruining Aaron Rodgers is like the stupidest thing.
Doesn't he look like he's going to belch up some brisket or something?
He like Andy Reid looks like he's hungry, but he looks calm. Like he looks like he just.
I think Andy dropped a few. I don't know that we can even consider Andy Reid the fat man at this point.
A big dude.
I think he shed a few pounds, man. He must be on some Oprah Winfrey diet. All right, we're going to talk some pucks later on this morning. It's a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday here on Ion Channel, the Defo Show. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubie, Lubitz. Great to be with you here and with you all week long. Hope everybody's, if you're celebrating the national holiday today, I don't know. It's more of a commemorative thing. It's not really a celebration, is it? It's celebration of life?
Is life.
Of a life well lived, as short as it may have been, unfortunately. Well, they didn't exactly. How quick was James Earl Ray got whacked right after he was found? Did he not?
From what I know.
How did they do that? Whoever was running these conspiracies back in the day, right? Lee Harvey Oswald. They walk into the jail and a guy just walks up to him and they're all, "Hey, Jack, how you doing?" Right? and he's got a gun and he blows the guy away in front of the entire Dallas Police Department. You don't think there were some federal agents involved in that thing too? The guy supposedly shot the president. They couldn't get him into the bus to take him to the next destination.
Oh, the whole thing. There's movies about it. The whole thing's freaking
Did we ever
weird.
get to the bottom of what happened with James Earl Ray with this Martin Luther King Day? I mean, didn't he get like killed like before he had a chance to even open his mouth? That was crazy. Anyway, all right. Hope everyone.
No, he died in '98, so that didn't happen. He lived a life.
Like I said, he lived in prison and he was growing avocados out of whatever little yard they gave him. All right. Well, anyway, national holiday. Hope everybody's having a good time with that.
Thank you, Mark.
Martin Luther King, tremendous. I mean, a big part of my youth, Martin Luther King and all of the things that he was doing as we were on the hippy-dippy movement of peace and love. And he was very emblematic of everything that we wanted to see corrected in this country, which guess what? Here we are. What would that be? 50 years later, and it's still the same old shit.
It's better. I've talked to people.
It's not that much better. It really
to.
isn't. I don't think it is.
It's just far from what we want to be. Like, if you have any sense at all, this is not where we should be.
It's crazy.
60 years later.
It's absolutely crazy. All right, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. That's where you could forget
That's
about
where we want to be. Yep.
any kind of hostilities or any kind of animosity or any kind of prejudice or bias you might have for or against any other type of person other than yourself. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. You get down there, you have yourself a couple of cocktails, some great food, and you're chilling out, literally, by the pool or bayside. Fantastic views of everything. Beautiful grounds. You've got water sports right there where you can go on wave runners and kayaks and parasailing, whatever the heck you want to do. You can do it at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Now, the food is great. Fantastic. So if you're just looking for a bite to eat on your way to or from another destination in the Keys, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway. The restaurant is dynamite. Don Kachemi does a tremendous job. John's going to be with us tomorrow, by the way, if you're looking for John Kachemi today in Dateline Dolphins. As I think he might be teeing it up with Marino.
Nice.
Today. It's possible. As for him to take a pass, you know how responsible Kachemi is.
On it, yep.
I mean, he'd definitely be here if he could. So, I think it could involve Danny Boy. So we may have some stories for us tomorrow. But anyway, his brother Dominic does a dynamite job. I mean, wow, what a chef. That thing, that pizza you had, I mean, who would figure you want like a fried egg on a pizza?
It works.
It's fantastic. Wow. I mean, just great. They customize everything. And we do have to get Mayo to Gambling Gourmet down there to try that Italian fisherman.
Yes.
Which is fantastic. And hopefully the crew from Ion Channel will join us when we make the arrangements finally to have Jimmy on the show sometime, probably mid-February, I would say.
Just after the season. When the season's over and we want to do a little recapping and he has some time.
Very relaxed. You know what Jimmy has going on right now, though? I mean, and I'm not sure what the dates are on this, is he's got a giant fishing tournament that he does in conjunction with the Hard Rock Hotel. And there's like millions of dollars in prizes.
Wow.
Given away. You know, Jimmer, a huge fisherman, goes out there all the time, although he said he was doing less of it these days. He said he needs dead calm now before he takes the boat out. Dead calm, which sometimes you start out that way, and then later on in the day, Lubie.
Yeah.
Did anybody bring Dramamine? Does Dramamine work?
I don't know. I know it works on flights. I don't know if it works for boats.
Seasickness? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think you just feel drowsy. That's about it. But anyway, you won't feel drowsy. You'll feel almost, is lazy appropriate? Because it's okay to just kind of relax once in a while and unwind. Yesterday was that type of day here in South Florida with the rain and the wind and everything.
Yep.
You were relegated to essentially doing nothing, right? Sitting on the couch there and thinking, did I already eat? Okay, I think I'll have a sandwich then. But yeah, you're going to feel great at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, Key Largo, mile marker 104, Overseas Highway. Tremendous accommodations. And if you're around the country and you're looking for a great place to stay, this is so sensational, people. Look it up at jimmyjohnsonsbigchill.com. And, they only have 6 units or 8 units, but they're so magnificent. It's not like, some cheesy motel that you're thinking about staying in for like $60. So don't get the wrong impression, but tremendous, too. If you're coming, a lot of people like to travel. Do you ever do this? I mean, can you envision yourself traveling with another couple somewhere, Lubie?
Yeah, there's a few couples. Sure.
All right. I mean, it's not necessarily my bag, but, a lot of people do it. I like to be alone. But you can share these joints. I mean, and be more than comfortable. I mean, you'll feel like, wow. I mean, this is like the greatest room that I've ever stayed in my life. Did you see that thing that we were staying in? No, I was afraid to show it to you because you would have been so jealous.
We found a way to keep me away from that room.
Yes.
I heard.
Oh, the dogs were there. The dogs were there.
I heard a lot about that room, and I'm very jealous. Everyone
it was great.
Seemed to sing the praises of that. All the stuff they have going on at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill.
I mean, you could be in like a Ritz-Carlton somewhere in Naples, or stay at some. I was at this Hyatt Centric on Las Olas.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is the way to go if you're planning a vacation in Florida. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. JimmyJohnson'sBigChill.com. Mile marker 104, Overseas Highway, just a little bit south there at Florida City. As soon as you get out of Florida City and through all that trek there, which used to be 2-lane highway, I guess it still is, huh?
Yeah.
Although it's divided now, so there's less likelihood that you'll get in a head-on crash with some crazy drunk, which was always ugly, right? Because every mile marker also was decorated with the flowers, the commemorative, things for people that, unfortunately, were in accidents at that spot. So a lot safer. You're going to love it. Or as soon as you drop out of Florida City there, make a right into Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill when you get into Key Largo and have yourself a blast at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, which we intend to do, as we said. And we'll give you the dates when we're going to be down there if people want to join us there and, get a shot there, hang out with the Jimmer. I mean, I don't know. Is he going to hang around and have a couple of cocktails? He might. You know what? He just might. He's that kind of guy. All right. We're coming back with more. Craig Minervini going to join us here on the show. And we'll get into this Florida Panthers story. Florida Panthers atop the National Hockey League. And literally lighting it up, right? I bet the ball probably burnt out on the goal light, right? That red light that flashes. It's like a circus light. You know, those things that used to swing.
Yeah, exactly.
The electric bill has to be pretty high there in the arena to just keep the goal light lit up the entire time, because that's what the Panthers have been doing. So we'll get into that. And also, Craig does the Marlins as well. So we'll get into some baseball, find out what's going on with the lockout with Craig Minervini. That's coming up in just a few minutes here on ION Channel and streaming around the world, audio and video. Google the Defo Show if you want to find us. I'm Jeff Deforrest. He's Mike Lubitz. And we'll be back with more. And peel yourself off the mat Monday in a moment. I'm glad I'm 4-1 at this point. You think I get home with the Cardinals tonight?
Oh, you have the Cardinals?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I didn't pick them. I don't know what I would have done in that game.
I see. I lean Rams. I don't trust Stafford, but I like the Rams team, and I like McVay better than I like the Cardinals. So I usually lean with the coach that I trust more. Unless
the one. It's a rough call, man. I mean, like Rams at home. What's that?
Like the Bills are vastly superior, even though Belichick's the better coach. The Bills were so superior, I lean Bills. In a game like that where they're close, I don't trust Kingsbury. I sort of do trust McVay. So that's why I lean Rams. I don't know. We'll see.
Rams choked that game away against San Francisco. That was a gag job, man. They're up 17-0 and they lose. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here on the Defo Show on ION Channel. Great to be with you, and coming back with more in a moment. Now that
the time.
It's 8:21 on the East Coast here.
Hey there, it's Mike Mayo. Do you like steaks? Do you like seafood? Do you like classic old Florida charm? You could get that all and more at Tropical Acres Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. It's at 2500 Griffin Road in Dania, just west of 95. The Studiali family, they've been running the place a long time. It's been there more than 70 years. And it is now a place you can get early bird specials along with steaks to take home and throw on the grill yourself at the Butcher Shop. That's open 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day. It's open for dinner every night starting at 4:30, but they are closed on Sundays. Go to Tropical Acres. It's a place to go for a great meal, great people, good value. Tropical Acres.
The championship meet is right around the corner at Gulfstream Park. The only place for live racing, Gulfstream's action has never been hotter. Whether it's on the track, in the casino, or part of the dining and entertainment offered at the Village of Gulfstream Park. Currently running Thursday through Sunday, Gulfstream's racing package is the best in the country, with all the top horses and people in the game pointing towards another tremendous winter season. Check out the remodeled first floor casino, open 7 days and nights a week, along with the many special events and concerts happening at Gulfstream Park. You can place your wagers from anywhere at firstbet.com. Check the calendar of events at GulfstreamPark.com.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Hey, folks, Tony Segredo here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
Buy or lease a Taos and take it to the house at Deal Volkswagen. Anna and her team make your next VW purchase or lease so easy with new inventory rolling in daily and the biggest selection of certified pre-owned vehicles in the business. You can make your deal online at dealvolkswagen.com or visit the beautiful showroom in the classic location, 3601 Bird Road, right in the heart of the Gables. Or give Anna and the team at Deal a call at 305-448-DEEL. Jettas, Passats, Tiguans, Atlas models, and the hottest vehicle in the industry, the new Taos, all at unbeatable prices and all ready to roll off the showroom floor at the #1 Volkswagen dealership around, Deal Volkswagen.
The great Lawrence Taylor with us here at 940 Wins, 1230 The Zone. Your relationship with Parcells.
We were always been friends from the first time I met him in the University of North Carolina. And Bill was a great guy because he would get on the bus. We'd get on the bus on Sunday. You know, getting ready to play the game, we get on the bus and he'll go through his roll call. He looked down that roll. He say, "LT, you here?" And I would say, "Yeah, coach, I'm here." He would say, "Okay, bus driver, let's go. We got enough
That's great. From South Florida to the entire world, here is Defo joined by Lubie on the Defo Show.
Seems like we always have to issue the disclaimer whenever we play that clip of Lawrence Taylor, who joined us on Radio Row. And there were probably, 3-4 Hall of Famers hovering around the table there.
Yep.
I mean, recently inducted, too. I mean, it wasn't like, hey, Jerry, you want to come over here? You know, they dragged Jerry Kramer over from a couple of desks away. Gets there about the end of the interview. No, he was great. But and then, you know, everybody wanted a piece of LT, and he happened to come to our location first, and he was telling stories, and he had everybody rolling on the floor laughing, and so we were at that point. So that was not, Lubie, gratuitous radio laughter.
Oh, no, he caught us off guard because I literally had days and weeks of prep telling me, I don't know how this is going to go.
Yeah, don't ask him this.
Oh my God, treat him well. Don't bring up anything. And he was like a stand-up comedian, and he was just amazing, so that he caught us off guard with how great he was and how friendly he was and how charismatic he was. And it was like, okay, like he was great.
That's always great when somebody lays out the parameters for an interview and they say, don't ask him anything.
Yeah, that's
it's kind of like, a Tiger Woods interview. Oh, no, don't ask him about that shady doctor.
Like, okay.
He just happened to have making house calls, even though he was under indictment in 3 countries, Tiger. Come on.
Exactly.
Right? What do you think was going on there, Lubie? Do you call Dr. Galea because you got a toothache? No. Do you call him because your foot's a little sore? No. You call him because you need juice that is not even discovered yet in the Balco laboratories. I have a serum here that can make you eternally young, Tiger. All right, welcome back to the show, the Defo Show. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubie, Lubitz. Real happy to be with you on Ion Channel. Peel yourself off the mat Monday. Also, commemorating the great life of Martin Luther King. And, a very inspirational character. Tremendous. The I Had a Dream speech is as good a speech. I mean, it's up there with Lou Gehrig to me.
Yep.
No?
Yes. Yes, it's like top 5.
Right? We had a degenerate version of that at one time. I don't know if it would be in poor taste to play that on on Martin Luther King Day. I don't think so, because it's honoring a great man. But, I had a dream that there never were going to be any more stewards inquiries. When I have a fistful of winning tickets, it kind of diminishes the meaning of the speech there. So we don't need to delve any further into that. All right, the most impressive team of the weekend, that'll be a common question to ask in a sports talk situation. Hey, what team impressed you the most there, Jew? I mean, Lou? Not Jew. Jew, Lou, whoever. Could be talking to me. Hey, what team impressed you the most there, Jew? Could be in an Hispanic neighborhood.
Is
right?
this, or did you have a flashback to like the 60s when you were in Brooklyn?
You know what? We didn't take that so seriously back then.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
Guys always had the nickname of like their nationality. That was like a big thing back in the day. So that's what I'm saying.
I mean, being called like Jew boy didn't really bother me at all. I mean, it just didn't. Because you would fire right back at your Puerto Rican friend there. Make some disparaging remark about the fact that he was wearing shoes even though we were playing basketball. I didn't want to get into it. You know what? These things are all recorded. You can only get into a jackpot. 100%. Going down this path. But, it wouldn't be uncommon in a sports talk program or any kind of sporting conversation to say, what team impressed you the most over the weekend? And you would have to say it was the Buffalo Bills, no?
Yes. Bills are Bucks. And even then, like, no one thought the Eagles were going to be game. People were giving the Patriots a chance. The Belichick factor, their defense was good.
They were definitely in there with a chance.
Jones. Like that team had a much better chance than you would say the Eagles, and the Bills blew them the doors off from the beginning. They never let up.
They never stopped. I mean, it came right out of the chute smoking and just never let up. It was relentless, and I like the fact that they just kept pouring it on also. And we're very effective doing it. I mean, you couldn't ask more from Josh Allen in that game. If you had your doubts about this guy, which you still do, Lubie, and it doesn't mean he can't blow a gasket the next time out, but you would have to say they were impressive enough. I mean, should they be favored over Kansas City in that game? Not on the road. I don't imagine. I mean, you're gonna get points with the Buffalo Bills in that game. Would you not feel somewhat comfortable with that? I imagine the line is out there somewhere. I didn't see it this morning, but I would imagine they already made a line on this thing. And I don't know. I mean, the Chiefs haven't been great against the spread this year.
Chiefs are favored by 2.5. The over-under is 53.5 that I see right now.
Okay. You would suspect that there would be a lot of points scored in that game, no? So maybe the under is the way to go. Because, I mean, just as they say on paper, you're looking at two teams that are, I mean, between the two of them, they scored 90 points, right? 89 points over the weekend. So you would think that the 53 would be a pretty tepid total, and that it might even be higher. But nonetheless, Now, what did you think? Did you catch much of Mahomes last night? He started out a little bit shaky. The Steelers were doing a pretty good job in pass defense. Their MO was that they couldn't stop the run, and they were doing a decent job in pass defense, and they actually were making some plays. And they did get the opening touchdown when it looked like their offense was going nowhere. Big Ben, by the way, that was his swan song. Big Ben Roethlisberger says, what? Does he say sayonara to the game or just the Steelers?
No, I think he's done. I mean, we thought 2 years ago he looked like he was getting there. Last year he was rough. And this year he was a little better, but it was almost like he did what he had to do to say goodbye and not suck. I think he's done.
Yeah, shot fighter. That would be the terminology, no?
I mean,
Ben Roethlisberger.
Fullback. He's played like a fullback as quarterback for like 2 decades.
How that guy's still alive is pretty incredible. Exactly. Nobody takes a beating like this guy. No. And shrugs it off like it's nothing, right? It doesn't matter. He could go limping off the field, and one play later, he's out there bouncing around.
Yep.
It's pretty incredible. So, he apparently is going to hang it up, and it wasn't really very competitive, that ball game. Even though it was like nothing through the first quarter, you got the feeling Kansas City was going to explode at some point.
They did.
And they get 2 touchdowns in the last 4 minutes of the first half. That was it, 21-7. And I turned away for a while, watched Ray Donovan, the movie. And sure enough, I come back, and 6 minutes into the third quarter, it's 35-7.
Yeah, exactly.
That's game.
That's what it was 21-7. I went away for a second to throw something out, and I'm like 35. I'm like, what the hell?
Man, they got 2 touchdowns in the last 4 minutes. So they got 4 touchdowns in 10 minutes in that game. And that's the kind of offense they're capable of. But nonetheless, only 2 and a hook over the Buffalo Bills. Would you be tempted to take the points and the Buffalo Bills on the road against the Kansas City Chiefs team, whose defense, and this shows you the deception of getting too far involved into statistics and sabermetrics, because their defense statistically for a good period of time was impressive among league leaders in certain categories, and yet whenever you watch them in the clutch, their defense sucks.
That's a problem. Right? Their defense has been better. Like for weeks, they were playing really well, but they're not good at the end of games. At the end of games, they sort of just give it up.
That's kind of the important period of time, would you say? The end of the ball game?
That's sort of nice.
So, they were still vulnerable to lose to the point spread of 12 and a hook, which would have been a disaster the way you're up 35-7. I mean, you should be able to cover a couple of touchdowns in a point spread. So that matchup is a beauty, though. Kansas City and the Buffalo Bills. That's going to be a lot of fun. By the way, Tony Romo, has he lost his mind completely?
That's what I kept hearing from people. I kept reading on Twitter.
He's gone.
Romo's still doing these games.
You imagine the guy that signed him to this $18 million contract to like ruin football games for everybody? He's turned Jim Nantz into a babbling fool.
Yes.
Nantz doesn't know what to do. And you notice what they're doing? I think Nantz had something to do with this. They made Ian Eagle and Charles Davis, our good friends, the number 2 broadcast team for CBS. Both made frequent appearances on our shows over the years.
Be on this week. I think he's going to actually be on tomorrow. I think Ian's going to be on sometime tomorrow.
Very good. Ian Eagle, man. Great. They made them sit outside in Buffalo.
Ian kept referencing it. He kept saying, they look warm down there. I was like, Ian,
while Nantz and Romo are absolutely just blundering their way through the ball game that they're calling. And, you're saying to yourself, my God, what is Romo talking about? I guess they were doing Dallas, San Francisco, right? Which was a great game. I mean, a good analyst on that ball game, and he's circling 3 guys over here, and then they're running to the other side. And he kind of charmed people in the beginning because he was offbeat, and yet he was much more subtle, was he not? And then on top of that, he was very good at anticipating in Al DeRogatis type fashion.
That's what his thing was.
Play was coming up.
It was good at picking the play. Like it wasn't that he was great. He did the picking the play thing a few times that made me feel like, oh, he really does have insight. Good for him. And then that stopped like the first.
Yeah. And Troy Aikman, man, good looking kid, man. Seems like a decent enough guy, Troy Aikman. Has he ever done anything to put himself in any spotlight of disgrace? No, not that I know of. Okay, he wasn't even doing blow with Michael Irvin and the boys then. He was clean cut,
honestly.
But I mean, you can't get any more cliched than this guy, can you? When they're sucking up to the winning coach and talking about Bruce Arians and Tom Brady. I mean, my God, we've already heard these things like a zillion times. And people are probably saying, yeah, well, you've told those same stories a million times too. Yeah, I guess so. You do this long enough. But I mean, just give me something else, huh? I mean, the color analyst is really, it's becoming highly dysfunctional, is it not? It's either too much technicality, too many cliches, or in the case of Romo now, I mean, imagine a guy that signed him to $18 million worth of contract for CBS.
Stressing out because all you do is Romo's getting that treatment like Booger, where all the people do is make fun of him and mock him now.
Yeah. Why don't they just put him in a little cartwheel thing, a little cart on the sideline and have him going back and forth just talking to himself? It'd be great.
That's what it feels like.
Oh, man, he was out of his mind in this ballgame yesterday. All right, Craig Minervini going to join us, and we'll zero in on a little shoot the puck. The hockey, which is not often discussed in mainstream sports talk situations, unless you're in Minnesota. Yeah, how the Wild doing tonight? You can probably get away with that, right? Leading with that in a news story. The Wild take on the Canucks tonight. But we'll get into a little hockey on the Defo Show. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubitz with you. A sensational story originating right here in South Florida. The team of False Hope, the leaders in selling false hope, have been the Florida Panthers for years and years and years. Yeah, we're going to take the young guys and then the old guys, mix them together, and we're going to have a really good team.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's been all bullshit, unfortunately, in terms of results. I mean, you could see signs here and there, but okay, so one year they're in the bubble, the next year they're not. It was that kind of thing, and nobody cares, which is really unfortunate. Because even now, when you see shots on TV, and I'm the last guy to scream it. I don't care if people go to games or not. That was always a ridiculous premise that sports talk hosts used to lay out there to people. Well, you know what? You don't go to the game, so you can't say that. And then, that was a guy that had the guy who was hosting hadn't attended a game in 2 years, right? I don't know that it's so essential. You can kind of see what's going on anyway. I mean, if you go to games, it should be for your own entertainment and the fact that you just like that kind of vibe and the atmosphere, which I do. But, wow, I mean, it still looks like a lot of empty seats in that arena, no, Lubie? A lot of empty seats.
Yeah, I mean, people, we talk with Mike Mayo, who is a big sports fan, reporter, and supports the South Florida teams, but because the Panthers have been what they've been for so long, he still doesn't trust them until they win a series.
Yeah. He's very cynical, though, Mayo. I mean, you should have seen the bitter face he made when he tasted that first thing at the food tasting. And then they started, going off about, the brush of guava didn't quite make it. I'm like, well, what are you talking about? You're eating bison, for God's sake. That alone should tell you that you're crazy. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here on the Defo Show. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill bringing you part of the program along with Hialeah Park. Great to have those guys on board. Gulfstream Park, of course, involved here, and many other fine people. So keeping us going on Channel. I'm Jeff Deforrest. He's Mike Lubitz. Returning with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:43.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
Recently realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752. Would you go into court without an attorney? So why would you go up against an insurance company without Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa? 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Give them a call at 954-809-8752. 8752. Why go up against insurance companies alone when you can have Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa on your side?
Hey, it's Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet, here for my friends over at Shenanigans Sports Pub. It's a great place to go to take in a game, a good meal, and a couple of drinks. My friend Patrick, he's been doing it a long time, and he's got two.
Hey, now you want me to?
Right across
I can
from
try these.
in Hollywood, and then the east side location,
these things. Let me see.
South Federal Highway in Dania Beach. Shenanigans is the place. Wings, burgers, barbecue, fresh fish, anything you want. Drink specials, late night dining, outdoor dining.
Mike Mayo.
It is the place to go. Family friendly. Go to Shenanigans and tell them the Gambling Gourmet sent you.
Sound like Mike Mayo.
We need about 20 seconds of Marv. He's supposedly considering hanging it up. You were paid a compliment from Harvey Fialkoff. He says that you now do the best Marv Albert
Goldie
of
does a good
anybody
Marv
in South Florida. Thank us as Marv Albert. That would be great.
Well, I have only one answer to that, and it is yes. It has always been a pleasure to be at either the 7th Avenue end to the left of Ed Jockerman or the 8th Avenue and to the right.
All right, how does that sound? Can you hear me?
Willis Reed, who may come back. You know, Defo and Lubie, Willis did come back in a heroic fashion, but once I hang it up, that will be it. Now back to Chuck and Sue.
Excellent job there.
Can you hear me okay?
Enjoy your trip to work with lots of laughs, thanks to Defo and Lubie.
You want to leave the phone off, and if there's a problem, huh?
Somebody loan me a dime.
Trying a little experiment here on the Defo Show, and appeal yourself off to Matt Monday. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubie, Lubitz, and the voice you heard cutting through there during the break belonged to this gentleman who we decided to see if we could pop him up here and get some video of the handsome one himself. And it's not true. You don't look like Christopher Lloyd playing his character in Taxi
always
in the morning and then clean it up at night. We welcome to the show the great Craig Minervini, probably the only guy we know, active with a Bob Murphy impression. Can we get a little Bob while we have the video? Craig, welcome to the show. First of all, great to have you on.
I think that I am definitely the only guy. In fact, that you mentioned Bob Murphy. There's a story here. Bob Murphy's folksy style actually influenced Minervini right over here.
Yeah, you sound just, I mean, it's incredible. The impression is dead on.
Am I allowed to do this?
Yeah.
Story here of Bob Murphy.
Look at you.
Yes.
Outrageous, yeah. Quite a career,
Anyway.
no doubt about it. You've done everything, but I mean, there was a time, and I guess the Dolphins marketing office finds himself in this situation now. How do you sell tickets for this team? And, we've been with this Florida Panthers story forever, and it's always been we're going to mix the young guys and the old guys, and we're finally going to get it together.
Well, I think that's a very good point, Defo. And that's why there's some high cumulus clouds, but the weatherman says it should be a beautiful day for baseball.
I didn't know you were going to bring props to the table, too. I mean, we just decided to try this at the last second.
This is great.
Anyway, you're watching the scores here, and, whenever you tune into a game, they're either coming from behind in dramatic fashion to win in the third period with like 3 impossible goals, or lately now it's just a total annihilation. I mean, they're like on a Joe Louis Bum of the Month club. What the hell is going on out there? We'll ask you the Vince Lombardi question.
Boy,
what the hell is going on?
It's reminds me of the Flying Frenchman back in the 70s when they lost.
Who, Eduardo Carpentier or
yeah, that Eduardo, not one of your guys you lost on. What was he, a great jockey? No, Lafleur, Lemaire, and Guy Lafleur and Jacques Lemaire and Steve Schutt, and the Canadians who used to were dominant at the Montreal Forum. I think they only lost 1 or 2 on home ice one of those years. I mean, they've outscored the opposition in the last 3-game homestand, 21-5. 21. This is hockey.
Yeah, there's a safety in there. Otherwise, would have been 21-3.
Werenski for Columbus the other night, Defo said, when the crowd is chanting, "We want 10," and they're only 1 away with a lot of hockey to go. He said it was the most embarrassing moment. He's been around.
Wow.
Top pick. The embarrassing moment he's ever been around in the NHL.
How much money would Taco Bell have lost if they had hit 10? Was there some kind of promotion involved there, with an impossible, unachievable, barometer to get the free stuff?
The amazing thing is, for a couple of things. First of all, I was at the game, and the crowd was chanting, "We want 10" in the first period when they had 4 goals. And they actually make a run at it. And secondly, you've been following this way longer than I have, but the under-over was 7.
Wow.
Which is
And always good when you get like
7.
9 out of a hockey team. Yeah, 3. It used to be the total
I'm talking
back
about
in the day.
not for the team, the total for the game.
Yeah,
Is 7. And I've never seen higher than 6.5, but I haven't been following the numbers that long. But that's a huge total. 7
I'm glad
goals.
you're following it now. Okay, can you bet at the arena, Greg? I mean, can you just send it in right there at the
you know what? I think it's something that
Truist Center or whatever it is?
I think you'll see it in sports. I think in the future, but not yet.
All right, so what's the secret here? I mean, Bobrovsky all of a sudden he got his sight back from last year. Anybody else that's performing in the pipes seems to be doing a decent enough job. Defense, which was porous at times, and the few games that I've attended in the last couple of years, I mean, it just happened to be like a horrible and very vivid example of how these goaltenders were getting annihilated because they were getting no help defensively. All of a sudden, that shored up, and they're scoring at a lightning pace. So, but what happened?
Well, I think Bill Zito deserves a lot of credit. Some of the guys that brought in, it's just he's done an incredible job. But he also his timing. I think he'd be the first to tell you that his timing was very good. Dale Talon did a nice job setting up some of these guys. They're at their peak now. I'm talking about the Barkovs, the Huberdeau, Ekblad, the big draft picks. They paid a lot of money for Bobrovsky, and then you bring in depth, Bennett's, and who's done a great job, and Reinhardt, and then you also brought in some toughness. You got Radko Gudas in the blue line, and they have that kind of a guy. Marchman has been out, but gives you some grit up front. They have 2 or 3 guys that are out. They really have 5 lines on this team. Only about 4 usually in hockey, and that's good depth. And they have guys who are out, and when they're out, you don't seem to miss them too much right now. It's so I think the biggest thing is the depth. For example, Barkov's got the quietest 15, 16 goals in 25, 26 games that I've seen. As good as he's played, you don't even notice him as much in terms of the score sheet. If you watch the game closely, though, he's just amazing with the puck. And to me, he's still their best player, though Huberdeau has been on fire.
Gathering a lot of respect, as they should, right? I mean, because when you look at the standings, they're there with 57 points, tied with Tampa Bay with 2 games in hand. Nobody else, really, it sounds like I'm doing a trivia challenge. Nobody else with a total anywhere near that. I mean, you have a couple of teams in there in the 50s, but, you looked at the West there, and the leaders are in the high to mid 40s. So a sensational season going, and you're starting to see them surface, which I don't know. How does... You're close with the organization. I mean, there has to be some certain sense of kind of pride that they're getting this recognition, and you would think that would fuel them to even greater heights, which it seems to be doing. I mean, they had, I guess, a brief slump where they lost a couple of road games, and other than that, I mean, 21-3 at home is remarkable in any sport for any team. Even like the Yukon women, I don't think have a better record at home, and basketball and. And they seem to be just dominating teams, and even when they're trailing, they have a confidence to them. Is this recognition tied in with that at all? I mean, what is the vibe around the team?
I think it helps, but I think the other thing is you're only 37, 38 games in, not even at the midpoint year of the part of the schedule. Look, they got a big road trip coming up right now, going to Western Canada. As far as I know, all the games are on too, because there's a lot of Canadian teams have not played because the NHL has been pulling back games, hoping to replay them during the Olympic break that's no longer. But when the West plays the East and they only play 1 game in each stadium, they're going to try and keep those games on, I think. And I think that's why the Panthers played the Kings here, and why that right now at least this trip is on. But we'll see. They have not played great on the road. They played okay. But this is going to be interesting. There's 5 games on the road. I don't think you're going to see much difference. You're not going to be scoring 6, 7, 8 goals a night. But their game should work just fine on the road and set this all up for what should be an exciting postseason.
All right. You also do a great job with the Miami Marlins on the telecast there on Bally Sports Florida. Some promise for the team as they made a couple of moves that at least would lead you to believe that they're out there giving it a little bit of a shot with whatever wherewithal they have. And at the same time, there's a lockout in place. And I don't know why, Craig. You know me. I'm a big baseball fan. Can't wait to get involved in wagering on the season.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see it start on time. And when this story first surfaced, I thought, okay, lockout, but they're going to resolve this. There's no way they're going to let it delay the season. Now, what's your feeling? What's your sense? Because that sense of confidence it may be dissipating. And where do you see the two sides? I mean, what are we really looking at here? What needs to be accomplished?
Well, first of all, I think it is frustrating for fans, especially in this day and age with all the money that goes around. But it is negotiation. I always think they're going to make a deal, no matter what. And a lot of times it goes down the last minute, and it is crazy. To me, the players are handsomely compensated and should be. They're great entertainers. But the burden is usually on the ownership because the players are going to get paid, and I just hope they can work a deal out. I mean, they're going through a lot of things. There's going to be the DH, the revenue share number. The players there's a lot of issues. The players want less years to reach free agency. Right now it's 6. You get 3 years plus 3 years of arbitration. They want 5. Which is a big difference, especially in
Seems reasonable, though. I mean, a lot of guys don't last that long. I would imagine the majority.
I don't think it is reasonable, but I hope they do the deal at 6. I think that part of it is fine right now. You get 3 years plus 3, and then you're young enough to move on and get another great deal. But whatever it is, I hope they can agree to. They want more money on the minimum side, which I'd like to see the minor leaguers, which they've worked out a deal, get paid more money. And they have worked out a nice deal. I know they're taking care of the where they stay this year too, which they hadn't in the past. So I think I'd like to see almost more money go in that direction. All these guys, for the most part, come up through the minor leagues. It's going to affect them, maybe not now, but it affects the guys coming up. So I just hope they come up with a deal that's fair both sides, and we are not delayed. I don't think, guys, and you can tell me if you agree, baseball has the room that it had in the 80s. When it was the number one sport, and fans keep coming back. Right now, it's not the number one sport. You just watched it yesterday, what the number one sport is.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure it's the number 2 sport right now.
I think the NBA probably slides in there number 2. Yeah.
So not that it's not popular. It's still huge. I don't care what you say. Baseball is great, but you better not tick off the people who pay the dollars there overall. So I hope they do a deal. I think they will, and we'll see.
All right. Well said. Can you sign off to our Peel Yourself Off to Monday listeners as Marv Albert, Craig Minervini? Just give us a couple of seconds of Marv.
Well, as you know, I am retired. So
wait. You need to grab a wig. Do you have a wig there you can put on your head? Something ugly, something that looks like a muskrat, a wig.
I have a wig.
Hairpiece.
However,
nothing there in that room? Okay.
I've come on this show quite a bit, and to say that to someone who's reached the level that I have to come on this show at some ungodly hour, no less. I haven't been on a beach like you for the last month. How do you have that tan?
Look at his tan.
Where did you?
The walk of life. Mike Fernandez set up the lighting, so it's going to look good, right?
Fernandez set up the lighting. You look like a Casper the Friendly Ghost. One Mike Fernandez or Sal Red Light Messina.
Always great, my friend. We look forward to. I guess we'll see you tomorrow night before that Calgary game, huh? That's going to happen.
No, actually, I'm not doing the game, but I will be. If you want to see me tonight,
wrestling.
I'll be refereeing at the Ice Den at 8:30.
Oh, very nice. Okay, we'll look forward to that. And is your kid still playing? Is he in the pros?
He is not. He went to Embry-Riddle, and he's going to be he's a pilot actually.
Wow,
very nice. All right, congratulations.
Yes, he's working his way up, but I'll be there.
Anyway, always a pleasure.
Fun. There's good stuff.
Yeah, thanks for bringing props too.
Can Chumley make an appearance?
Yeah, it added to the production level. There you go. Brought a dog into the shot. Very nice. Craig Minervini, ladies and gentlemen. A pleasure, Craig, as always, my friend.
Chumley spot. All right.
All right. We made it through another one here. Mike Lubitz, and we thank you guys for tuning in. We'll do it again tomorrow. Tomorrow, John Conchemi is going to be with us, and we'll do a little more football analysis with John, as we'll have the final game from the wild card weekend in the books as the Cardinals getting 4 in most places, 3.5 in almost the rest of the world, and only 3 on the Francesco Bernie. I will beat your brains in line. He's starting to come back to the pack a little bit. The playoffs not necessarily his bag so far. So so far so good. Started out what? I can't lose, right, Lubie? Already won 4 of the games.
Hey, you're in a good spot.
Philadelphia, I thought was the gimme. I thought they were going down for sure. I really did. The fact they were even mathematically, I mean, you had to go to like distant and exponential permutations to get them into the winner's circle against the point spread. But when it got to be 31-15 and they made the 2-point conversion on a miracle like catch, unbelievable. If you're a degenerate, those plays are, you knew they weren't going to win the game, right? But as a degenerate, all of a sudden your interest was tweaked. You need one more series of miracles, like you were going to a highlight match. And, trying to root in a series of miracles, and you might have got home into the winner's circle there, but was not to be. All right, we're going to see you guys tomorrow. Thanks. Just a beautiful time being with you and commemorating Martin Luther King today. So we hope everybody's enjoying the holiday, a national holiday. We'll see you tomorrow at 7 in the a.m. here on ION Channel. Google the Defo Show. Tell your friends. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff Deforrest. Thanks for tuning in, viewing, and listening. And we'll see you tomorrow at 7 a.m. as we leave it on that.
The time.
It's 9:01.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.